Now we've got the mouth texture connected to the face shader. We need to bring the eyes into this graph so we can connect everything properly. So I'm going to go to the eyes texture, middle mouse click and drag and bring that in. So here we go. Now we've got to connect both the eyes and the mouth together into the color. So we need to use another node that will connect these two. So I'm going to select this line in between the mouth texture and the color. Select it so it turns yellow and then hit delete. Then we'll break it temporarily. And now I need to bring in a layered texture node. And the way we can do that is we can come over to the side and actually go to the Maya other textures directory, and there's a layered texture, and actually drag that into our grid and our node editor and try to connect it together. Another way, if you can't find what you're looking for but you know the name of, hit the tab key. You get this little search box to pop up, and you start typing in layered texture, and you can see now it gives you this option. Instead of going through this menu and trying to figure out what you want, if you already know the name, you can just hit the tab key. It gives you this and start naming it and spelling it out. You get what you want. So I'm going to go to layered texture, click on it, hit enter, and boom, there it is. And you can see what this attribute is doing. What it's allowing me to do is bring in multiple textures and kind of like and layer them up kind of like in Photoshop. So the first one I'm going to bring is the eyes. So I'm going to middle mouse click on this node, hold and drag it into the box, and it makes the first connection. If I drop this, it goes into input 1. Go back to the layered texture. Now this one right here is input 0, and there's nothing there currently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of make it disappear. I'm going to hit this little X or this little checkbox down here, and we'll get rid of it. So it's no longer 0, it's now 1. But I have input 2. So I'm going to drag mouth texture, left mouse, middle mouse click, hold and drag in, drop it in, and then boom. Now I've got this being put in. So now we've got it together into one node. So the eyes are on top, so you can see if I hover over it, it says eye texture, and then I put the mouth is below. The problem is that the eye texture is kind of overriding the mouth texture. So if I want to kind of swap these around, I can click on this, middle mouse click, hold and drag around. Oop, that's doing something funny. Oh, let's do, yeah, there we go. So mouth is now on top. So you can see mouth is in there, but the eyes are on the bottom. I can go the other way around, and now the eyes are on top. But the problem is we don't see the eyes because we don't have the eyes set to a higher number than 0. So if I click on this node, even though we've got some parameters here, we don't got all the parameters. So if I come back over here, you can see we've got a lot more options here. And right now, our image number is still set to 0. So if I come over here and I go to the frame offset, I'll just type in 1. There we go. And now we've gotten something to see what's happening here. So we've got a mouth and an eye, and then we also have a layered texture. So now we need to combine these together. So we could go over here and go to the blend mode and see what that does. We can do like a multiply, and that seems to be working pretty well for us. So if I set the blend mode to multiply, it actually takes all the dark values and combines them together. So that's definitely one way of going. Another way is to use a mask to hide a portion of the mouth texture to reveal the eyes underneath. So we're going to use a ramp or a gradient to make a mask. So I'm going to go to the first mouth texture here, and I'm going to set the blend mode back to over. I'm going to go to the alpha for that first mouth texture layer, and I'm going to go to the input box, pick gradient or ramp, and you can see it's already kind of working. It's bringing something in. It's kind of, grayed out. And all I'm going to do is going to come down here and I'm going to play with the white point and the black point. You can see what's happening here. So I'm kind of bringing this up a little bit, but let's flip it. So right, boom. And I can see I can kind of play with this. I can even play with that. So I'm just playing it and I'm masking out part of the mouth texture to reveal the eyes underneath. So I'm trying to find like the midpoint here that I can get away with without affecting either side. So right about there. Perfect. So if you understand what's happening here is that the mouth texture is on top, the eye texture is underneath. I'm using a blend mode that's over, and I'm putting in a mask in the alpha channel that hides part of the mouth texture, which was all blank here, to reveal the eyes underneath of it. So it's a black and white mask that I made in this layer and pumped that in. So now that I've gotten all that figured out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the out color of this layered texture and put it into the color. Boom, just like that. And then that should load in. Let's minimize this, and voila, there it is. So now we've got our textures displayed, but we don't have them connected to the actual face control. So the textures are not physically connected to the textures of the eyes or the mouth. We still have that to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the connection editor to connect the different image sequences to the different facial controls that we have here in the channel box. So what we're going to use is the connection editor. Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor. Click on that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this over here to the side. And I'm going to bring in the controller, which is going to be our face control. So select it, reload it. So it's face control, go all the way down to the new attributes we added. So eye blink and mouth shape. And then now we want to bring in the texture nodes onto the right side. So we'll do it one at a time. So let's do the eye blink right now. So we'll try, let's see if we click on the shader or the geo and see if we can find the face. We'll follow, go to the color, we go to the mouth texture. That's not working. Let's see here. Let's bring up the shading network. So the hypershade, we'll minimize this. What I want to do is come over here and click on the 2D placement node. So this place 2D texture node 2. Oh, that doesn't give me a lot of attributes. Let's bring up the attribute editor. That's not working. Let's go to the actual the node itself. So if I click on this, and you can see the parameters down here, there's not a lot in the actual hypershade, but if we come over to the attribute editor, we get all the information we actually need. So this is what we want. So we've got this currently selected. That's the node. And we're going to load that onto the right side. Boom. Here it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect since we're doing the mouth, actually we want the eyes. Let's click on the eyes and reload the right. And we're going to click on eye blink, and then what I want to use is going to be frame extension. Click on that. Even though it was kind of grayed out, that meant there was another connection going into it, and that was because we actually had an expression edited to it. So every time you use image sequence, it makes an expression inside of Maya, but we just overwrit it by clicking it from eye blink to frame extension. Boom, we've made that connection. We overwrote what Maya had there before. So let's bring up the hypershade again, and this time instead of eyes we're going to do the mouth. We'll click on the mouth node or the texture node with the mouth images. We'll reload that. We'll go to mouth shape, and again frame extension, click on it, boom, made that connection. Close it out, and let's select the NURBS curve, go back to the channel box, go down to mouth shape, and there's kind of blank, it's on blank, and you can see there's a mouth, so there shouldn't be anything. So if I come down, it seems like everything is off by 1. So if I go down to S, it goes blank. What's happening here is that, remember when we first brought all our image sequence, we had to offset everything by 1 in the file node? So that's what we actually need to do. We're being offsetted by 1 frame. So if I come over here and go to the mouth node, click on that, bring up the attribute editor, and right here, as you can see, we have that frame offset that we set at the beginning. If I set that back to 0, that will load everything in correctly and not have it offset by 1. So I'll minimize this, and let's go back to the channel box and select the control, and let's go back to blank. Boom, blank, A, and I, everything seems to be lining up just perfect. We'll leave it on M, P, and B. Perfect. Now, same thing that's happening to the eye. Click on the eye, middle mouse click over here to the right, and we can go up and down, but you can see it goes black here. So we're not going all the way to frame 5. It disappears, and then we have that same offset problem here. So let's go back, bring up the hypershade, find the eye, and reload the attribute editor, and there's that frame offset, and set that back to 0. Perfect. That's looking good. Go back to the channel box, select that. There we go. Eye blink, click on that. Middle mouse click and drag back and forth, up and down, and 0. Oh, we go above 5, we get some problems. And we go back to 0, we've got some problems. So definitely there's problems happening here. It's because we're going way past the amount of frames that we actually have. We only have from 0 all the way to 5, and Maya can't find those extra frames for this image sequence, so it's just kind of blanking out. So we need to set a limitation on this particular attribute. So select the eye blink, go back to edit, edit attribute, click on what attribute you want to edit, and right down here on numeric attribute properties there's a minimum and a maximum limit. We'll do minimum, set to 0, and then maximum we'll set to 5, because that's how many eye frames we have. And we'll hit that, and now we can 0 should 0 it all out, and then anywhere past above 1 to 5 we get the eye closed, so we can get kind of that sinister look going right there. So now all you have to do is set some keyframes to animate this. So right here you could come and set a keyframe for all these. So I'll select both of them and I say key selected, and then a little bit down the line, you know, if you bring in some audio, you can animate to this, and then I can bring it in, like bring up the eyes like that, and set keyframes, and there you go. And then right here, about maybe frame 5 right here, I can drop it to like that. And then this one, I can set it to I. You can start seeing, you can start bringing this guy to life very quickly. Now bring in some sound into your Maya file and start animating. So hopefully you guys have learned something from the tutorial, and can't wait to see what you guys come up with.